On any normal Sunday, George Clooney's wedding would dominate the front pages, but not today, because the front pages and the inside pages are dominated by the latest Tory difficulties, a defection to UKIP and a minister's resignation. So what do the Conservatives from the East Midlands make of it all as they gather in Birmingham for their annual conference?
Hello, I'm Mari Ashby, and my guest this week, fresh from his party's annual conference, which has grabbed just a few headlines, is UKIP's Roger Helmer, a European MP for his party and the East Midlands. And he's joined by Ihsan Ghazni from the Liberal Democrats, who's chair of the party in Nottingham. Welcome to you both. So, Roger, obviously, you're on a bit of a high after this defection of Mark Reckless to UKIP. The obvious question really is, have you got your eyes on any other Tory MPs here in the East Midlands?
Well, the first answer to that question, Murray, is that if I had, I wouldn't tell
me.
But honestly, no, I haven't. And these matters are handled at the very top level of the party, and while I would feel I was close to it, I'm not it. So I really can't comment on that, but I can comment on the conference. I must have been to about 20 party conferences in my political career. I have just never seen one so enthused, so electrified, so excited, so determined to make progress. It was going extremely well up until 2:30 yesterday, and 2:30 yesterday, when Mark Reckless arrived, the thing just exploded, and the BBC said it was like a football club that had won the cup. It really was. OK,
well, Mark Spencer, the Sherwood MP, retweeted a tweet yesterday in which someone said that they had a fiver on him being the next Tory to go. We know Mark Spencer quite well, and we're pretty sure that he's joking there. But really, outside of the European elections, you haven't really made that much of an impact here in the East Midlands, have you?
Well, if you look at the European election results in Boston and Skegness, for example, we actually polled more than 50% of the vote, and the recent opinion polling I've seen out of that constituency shows that we are in with an extremely strong chance of winning that seat. So we think we are going to be making progress. And there are other seats, of course, that we will be targeting. So we're doing remarkably well. Everybody said, OK, you got the European election, but that's UKIP. It'll all fade away by the general election. It isn't fading away. We're on a roll. OK, well, Ihsan, with respect, as far as the Liberal Democrats are concerned, in the East Midlands, you're almost spectators, really, aren't you? This big fight between the Conservatives and UKIP and Labour and the Conservatives. How are you going to make an impact here in the East Midlands? Can you actually make an impact here in the East Midlands?
Well, yes. I mean, we're still very active on the ground. I mean, we've still got local councillors. We control some local authorities. Hinckley and Bosworth is one, for example.
But the odds are stacked against you, aren't they?
Well, they are, but that's the nature of the game at this moment in time.
Mari, the main message from Grant Shapps, the chairman of the Conservatives, when this conference opens later this morning, will be securing the future for the country.
Cheers, John. Well, Conservatives there, Roger, from the East Midlands, looking very confident there. They say that they've got a good story to tell. They both talked about the revival of the economy improving, and behind those headlines of defections, the economy is improving quickly, and they'll benefit from that.
Well, the economy is improving, and we should all be glad of that. It's taken a long time. They're not getting the deficit down. But I mean, you refer to their confident messages. I mean, they are whistling in the wind. And I particularly want to pick up this point that only a Conservative government will give you a referendum. As Mark Reckless said yesterday, and I've been saying for months, Cameron is just using this promise of a referendum and a renegotiation to kick the issue of Europe into the long grass till after the general election. I've been in Brussels for 15 years. I know there's no renegotiation going to happen. He will come back just like Harold Wilson did, with a couple of cosmetic changes, and on the back of that he will ask the British people to vote to stay in. Okay. That's not the referendum we want. We want a straight in-out referendum.
But Neil Clark also saying that if people do vote for UKIP, it's a way of letting Labour in.
Absolutely not. It was true at the beginning of UKIP that we tended to take more support from the Conservatives than from Labour. We've just had our conference in Doncaster, in Ed Miliband's patch, in Labour heartlands. Look at our results in Rotherham. Look at our results in northern constituencies. We are taking support across the board. The idea that we're only taking support from the Conservatives is absurd.
We heard this week that UKIP have been contacting Conservative councillors in Charnwood. Are you speaking to Conservative councillors? To other Conservative councillors?
I am not personally speaking to any
is the
Conservative.
Party talking to them?
As a party, we are very happy to talk to both Conservative and Labour councillors. And bear in mind, again, I stress, we are getting a lot of support from former Labour supporters. Our chairman in the East Midlands is a former Labour councillor. So, you know, I reject the premise of your question that we would only be, or the suggestion that we would only be talking to Conservatives.
You'll be talking to whoever will listen.
We are keen to talk to people across the board. We are not not right, we are not left, we are common sense.
OK, well, rumours today that you actually have a third man, another Tory MP about to defect. What's up your sleeve?
Honest, hand on heart, I do not know. Nigel
Oh, come on, you said earlier you wouldn't tell me if you did.
I did, but I don't. One of the great things about Nigel Farage is that he will conduct these negotiations personally, and he is absolutely meticulous in keeping them secret. And that's why people are prepared to talk to us. Frankly, you know, if a Conservative or a Labour MP came to talk to UKIP, you know, and we told the top 10 people in the party, and it would be in the Daily Mail tomorrow, nobody would come. They come because they know it will be treated in absolute confidence.
Is it time to cuddle up to our neighbours in the West Midlands? Some politicians seem to think so, and this week's Labour conference saw the launch of Midlands Connect, an attempt to build closer ties between the two sides of the region. At the moment, the Midlands can feel split in two, dissected by motorways and rail lines, all heading north to south. Well, the plan will be to bring the east and west closer together and to encourage better links between cities on both sides of the divide. Is this a good idea? Would it help you in Europe to shout up for the East Midlands if we were more of a united force across the Midlands?
At the moment, it's a pig in a poke. We don't know exactly what it is and exactly what it's going to be. But can I say, following the Scottish result, we in UKIP are saying, yes, fine, Scottish devolution, but we must have at the same time a complete settlement for England and Wales and Northern Ireland. Therefore, we're saying we ought to have a constitutional convention that would look at the whole situation.
This government has focused largely on cities, and so Manchester, Liverpool, Sheffield, Leeds and Newcastle are working together now. They've got city deals, they're working together. The East Midlands is different. It's not dominated
this
by
is not
the big
finer points. This
cities.
is absolutely fundamental as to how central government shares out funding, as to how that funding is allocated, as to what bodies control that funding. We have to get that clear.
I think actually we should retain governance at a regional level.
We need to know what is being proposed, who is going to control it. It's fine saying speak with one voice. Who is going to speak with that voice? How will it be democratically accountable? I mean, until we have answers to those questions, we really can't say yes, it's a good thing, or no, it's not.
Thanks to my guest, Roger Helmer, and Isan Ghazni, and Anne Weston for being this week's guest.